Ever feel like you're working nonstop, saving every month, and yet your money just doesn't seem to move? It feels like you're pushing a massive boulder uphill, and no matter how hard you push, it barely shifts. That's the experience most people have in the early stages of building wealth. You do all the right things, cut back on expenses, invest consistently, stay disciplined, and the reward looks tiny. A portfolio of $10,000 growing 7% only gives you $700. It doesn't feel like progress because, at that stage, you're still the one doing all the heavy lifting. Your effort is the engine, and your money is just along for the ride. But something incredible happens if you stick with it long enough. The weight begins to shift. Slowly at first, then dramatically, your money starts to take over. And the transformation doesn't happen all at once. It comes in stages, with a few tipping points that completely change your relationship with money. The first time it happens, you might not even notice right away, but it's huge. It's when your investments begin to earn more in a typical year than you're contributing yourself. Early on, almost all the growth in your portfolio comes from you adding money. You might save $6,000 in a year, but your portfolio's gains barely register. Then, one day the math flips. Maybe you've built up $100,000 and a 10% return adds $10,000 in growth. Suddenly, the portfolio is outpacing your contributions. That's the moment when the engine no longer relies solely on your fuel. It's a quiet shift, but it's the first time you realize your money can actually work harder than you do. The second stage is where things really start to feel different. It's when your investments begin to match what you earn at your job. Imagine you make $50,000 a year, and your portfolio, sitting at around $500,000, grows 10%. That's another $50,000. Your money just matched your salary. At this point, you've essentially cloned yourself. There's another you out there working full-time without taking a single break, without meetings, without stress. It's a silent partner that gets a raise every single year. And once you hit that milestone, your relationship with work changes forever. Suddenly, you don't feel trapped. Losing a job doesn't carry the same weight because you know your portfolio has your back. You might negotiate harder, take time off, or shift into work that actually fulfills you instead of just paying the bills. Even if you keep your job, you're playing by a completely different set of rules. And then comes the third tipping point, the one everyone dreams about. This is when your portfolio grows large enough to support you indefinitely. At around $1.25 million, a 4% withdrawal rate provides $50,000 a year, every year without ever touching the principal. That's the threshold of true financial independence. You could wake up and design your day around what you want, not what your boss demands. You might still choose to work, but it's no longer about survival. At this stage, your portfolio becomes a self-sustaining machine, compounding faster than you could ever spend it. The growth feels exponential. Years of grinding, slowly clawing your way toward milestones like 100,000, 500,000, 700,000, and then suddenly a million arrives. And just a few years later, 2 million. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable once the compounding machine takes over. But here's the catch. Most people never get there. They give up during the slow climb. They save for a few years, get discouraged, hit an unexpected expense, and stop. They don't realize that the early stage is supposed to feel painfully slow. It's the excavation phase, the groundwork before the structure rises. Charlie Munger once said the first 100,000 is the hardest, and he was right. Once you cross it, everything begins to accelerate. At 100,000, a 10% return is 10 grand. At 200,000, it's 20. At 440. Each year, your portfolio adds more to itself than you ever could. And usually, as your career progresses, your income grows too, making it easier to save larger amounts. The machine builds faster with every contribution and every passing year. Reaching the point where your portfolio earns more than your job carries an enormous psychological weight. It's not just about the money, it's about freedom. Your investments become your colleague, working right beside you but without complaint. It never calls in sick. It never asks for vacation. It just compounds. That's why staying in the game is everything. Because when you finally reach the stage where your money is doubling every 7 years or so, the growth feels unreal. 500,000 becomes a million. A million becomes 2. And if you're only withdrawing 4% while your portfolio keeps growing 8 or 10%, You're not just maintaining wealth, you're building it even in retirement. Getting there isn't easy. You'll face downturns, scary headlines, layoffs, medical bills, moments of doubt when you wonder if it's even worth the effort. But the people who stay the course, who keep investing through the slow, frustrating years, are the ones who eventually watch the momentum flip in their favor. And when that happens, money stops being the center of stress. You no longer feel like you're constantly chasing it because suddenly it's chasing you. That's the reward waiting on the other side of patience and consistency. Not just wealth, but freedom. The freedom to spend your time how you want, to say no without fear, to choose work that fulfills you, not work that traps you. It doesn't matter if you hit those milestones in your 30s, 40s, or 60s. The exact timing isn't the point. What matters is that you stay in long enough for compounding to reveal its true power. Because when it finally clicks, it doesn't feel like math anymore. It feels like magic. And the only way to experience that magic is to keep going through the part that feels like it isn't working. So if you're still in that slow climb, still wondering if it's worth it, remember this: you're not pushing forever. One day, the rock you've been shoving uphill starts rolling on its own. And when it does, you'll realize the struggle was worth every step. Your tipping point is coming. Stay the course. Thanks for watching InvestingFlix, where smart money learns smarter moves. Subscribe for more insights that grow your wealth.